What's up, everybody? This is the Act Man here, and today I'm going to be talking about what I liked in Halo 5. No, this isn't a joke video. This is actually serious. And though this video is coming out pretty late, this is going to be a sort of Halo 5 1 year later reflection discussion video. So I'm going to be talking about the things that I liked and enjoyed the most. And in addition, I'll talk about how some of these things could have been improved. Alright, so number one. Now, you're not gonna believe me when I say this, but E.K. Amati's voice as Spartan Locke. Yes, all jokes and calling people terrible things like Spartan Locke aside, the voice actor for Locke is pretty damn good.
My name is E.K. Amati, and I'm Spartan Jameson Locke.
He's got this deep, dark, slightly sinister, mysterious voice. I mean, even in the Halo 2 anniversary teaser, his voice was still pretty good.
I'm not so much hunting a Spartan as I'm hunting the Spartan.
The dialogue was a lot better in that one, too. You know, the writing for Locke was pretty bad, but the voice acting, the character model, his armor, that was all really, really good. And again, I talked about it in my review. You can't blame the voice actors for how bad the writing is. They're given the material and they have to read it. If Spartan Locke was written a lot better, the voice acting and the character model would have shined a lot brighter. I mean, he totally nails the sort of Spartan assassin type of voice and persona. So number two is the premise of Halo 5. So while I didn't like the actual execution and storytelling of the game, what I did like was the premise. You know, the ideas that they had. Before it turned out that the marketing was very misleading, that hyped me up too, as I'm sure it did everyone. I mean, the whole idea of someone going after the Master Chief, trying to hunt him down, kill him, capture him, or just talk to him, whatever, we don't know. I mean, that's fucking badass. And the idea that the Arbiter would once again play a role in the campaign, that was a really great idea as well. Osiris and Blue Team were all right ideas. If executed a lot better, they could have been much more interesting and fun. And I think the only thing I didn't like about the premise was making Cortana the villain. Had there been more of a focus on Chief and less of a focus on an AI uprising, the story would have been a lot better as well. Mainly, I think refining the focus and getting rid of all the extra fluff that made a lot of Halo 5's campaign pretty pointless would have really improved the story. So the premise and the ideas I gotta give credit for. Alright, number three is the gameplay. Now, Halo 5 has some silky smooth gameplay. There's no denying it. 60 frames per second is a noticeable difference from all the other Halo games. And the difference between an Xbox DVR clip and footage with a capture card that can record at 60 frames per second is super noticeable. Truth be told, I'd much rather have a more classic type of Halo gameplay and game. But even though this wasn't the type of game I was hoping for, the gameplay is just so smooth and fluid. The Spartan abilities and gun battles flow together nicely. For the most part, the game was pretty balanced, at least when I was really getting into it. All the maps were pretty well designed, though lacking uniqueness. And I especially loved the old Breakout. I mean, that was my jam, dude. I loved the intensity of each round. The frantic beginning to run and get your weapons, trying to pick off someone or get a lucky nade. I mean, this one time I had a 10-round Breakout match, and that was some intense shit, let me tell ya. Now, I want to get one thing out of the way, is that I don't think split screen was a sacrifice made to achieve 60 frames per second. I think if they did want both of those things, they could have made it happen. And if you've seen Angry Joe's review, then you know part of the reason for removing split screen was some corporate bullshit. And I'd also like to say that in addition to the gameplay and Breakout, what I really loved was Infection. Now, Infection has always been one of my favorite things to play in all of the Halo games, and Halo 5 totally nailed it, for the most part. It's easily the most dynamic and interesting type of Infection we've ever gotten before. You know, it was such a unique type of Infection gameplay that we've never really seen before, with thruster packs, stabilizers, and all that sort of stuff. That's not to say that Halo Reach or Halo 3's Infection is bad, it's just that those two are very simple in comparison. Because in those two games, you either walk at one speed, or in Reach's case, you sprint like a maniac. Now, I loved Infection, and I'm as sweaty as hell when I play Infection. But my biggest issue with it is that there's no veto or vote system in Halo 5. And because of this, the selection of maps and game types of Infection was as limited as it's ever been. So while the gameplay is fun as hell, the weapon placements on the map were awesome, the ability to move crates and blocks to block the infected path. While the Forge maps were all great, there was only 7 of them. So there is one way to play Infection on only 7 different maps. And at the time I had played like over 100 games, but after that I got burnt out on it. But because of the lack of a voting or veto system, they can't introduce all these different game types and balance it out such that you get to play each map an even amount of times. So in order to improve that aspect, I of course would have wanted a vote or veto system, which would have made gameplay and choices across the whole Halo 5 multiplayer experience much more unique and add in so many more possibilities. So overall, I did enjoy the gameplay. Number 4 is Warzone. For the first few months. Now, I remember having so much fun when the game first came out, running around with all sorts of different weapons, vehicles, just having a blast playing it. When I first used the Ultra Ghost, it was like, wow, that's something we've never seen before. When I used all the different wreck variants of the vehicles and weapons, it really felt new and unique. Like, sure, the sandbox might be a bit redundant, but there's a lot of variety, a lot of new things added. I really do like the concept of Warzone. And what is unfortunate is Warzone gets really stale and repetitive after a while. For the first few months of the game's life, it was an incredibly fun game mode. But as time started to go on, it started to turn into a sort of novelty. I feel like each of the Warzone maps is a good canvas, but it's a blank canvas. You know, there's no weapon spawns, no vehicle spawns. You know, the maps would have been so much better if they were designed around a singular concept. You know, Warzone would have been so much better if they didn't monetize the gameplay and instead focused on putting all the elements and assets into the game and into each map. So an example of this is, let's say you capture a base. Now, instead of having a rec station and instead of you bringing in your weapons through a monetized microtransaction system, imagine if when you capture a base, every couple minutes a pelican comes and sends some drop pods, drops off a scorpion or a vehicle, or there's respawning vehicles at the base, turrets, shield doors, you know, those turrets from Dominion. You know, I feel like Warzone has a lot of potential, and I think if they were to combine the best elements of Invasion from Halo Reach, Dominion from Halo 4, Warzone from Halo 5, and not monetize the gameplay, they could have the freedom in Halo 6 to do some really incredible things and create what could possibly be the best game mode in any Halo game ever. But overall, I really did enjoy Warzone for the first few months, and had the maps been more unique and had the gameplay not been tied to a monetized system, I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more. So number 5 is the Forge custom games, prefabs, and all the creativity that comes from that. While it did suck that we got Forge 2 months late, we did get the best Forge we've ever gotten before. I mean, just the sheer level of detail, the amount of objects you can use, the expansive landscapes you can forge on, it's limitless. The potential is limitless, you know, and with each update they were constantly adding new things to Forge, new elements. They added that weapon pad glitch and kept that in, which was super awesome. And from great Forge comes great custom games. Those two go hand in hand like peanut butter and jelly. And though I've gotten so many requests to do custom game nights, and though I really want to, I've been pretty busy with videos throughout this whole time. But that's really one of the big things that I enjoyed and still enjoy in Halo 5 to this day. You know, what I also like about Forge is that it's not too hard to get a hold of. You know, I forged a few maps in Halo 3 and Reach. I did a lot of that back in the day. And with Halo 5, it was a little bit hard getting used to the new controls and everything, but you can pick it up and learn it very quickly, especially if you have help from some Forge buddies that know what they're doing. So Forge custom games, prefabs, all that stuff, I absolutely loved it. So number 6 is the weapon sandbox. Now, I know it's not the most balanced sandbox, but I think just the sheer variety of it is commendable. And you know, this weapon sandbox that Halo 5 has goes hand in hand with the Forge and custom games again, because now you have so many options to place weapons, vehicles, etc. throughout the map. So number 7 is the Xbox Game DVR, which I know is not in Halo 5, but I figure I'd point this out as something that I enjoy and really like because when MCC came out, it didn't work very often, so I wasn't able to get many clips. But in Halo 5, the gameplay and matchmaking worked so much better than in MCC that I was actually able to take advantage of the Xbox Game DVR and record my best moments without having to go into a theater, fast forward to the exact point, and record it. It's truly something special because in all the other Halo games I've played, MCC excluded, you would need to go back through the theater or have a capture card in order to record your best moments, thus making it much more harder to get footage and gameplay. So you could record something just in the moment, right as it happened, and that way you wouldn't forget about it later. And trust me, I had about 37 killionaires in Halo 3. So number 8 is the updates. Now first, let me say I did not enjoy Halo 5's severe lack of content. I do not enjoy the way they constantly changed everything. I think the game should have launched much more polished with more game modes, maps, and playlists. The game should have launched complete, and with the updates they should have added whatever they wanted on top of that. With that being said, I can really dig an update system that adds new weapons, features, cosmetics, all sorts of stuff on a monthly basis, as long as it's not cut content. So imagine if they added race back in the Hog Wild update, or if they had infection on launch and then added invasion back in June. Adding new content is such a great way to engage the player base, get them excited to see what's new, to start playing again. And that's the key word, new. When the updates add something that we've never seen before or had before in a Halo game, that's when they're at their best. When it's entirely new stuff like prefabs or Warzone Firefight, which I did enjoy, but yes, it is broken. So I did like the update system, and I need to clarify that I didn't like the severe lack of content. I also thought having a weekly rotational playlist was a great way to mix things up and provide some pretty quirky gameplay. Just stuff you wouldn't see, like, ever. So the last thing off the top of my head is the little details. Now, Halo 5 definitely lacks polish in many ways. In some areas, it seems like they didn't pay attention to the small details, but it is nice that in some areas they did. Like the idle weapon animations that are just really, really cool and fun to watch. The different HUDs and viewpoints of the Spartans in the campaign were a nice touch, though mostly unnoticed by people. And there are some pretty cool, unique Easter eggs, like that little lasso drawing. And there's also an Easter egg where you activate like 3 switches, and then if you look in the background, you'll see an oil station just sink into the ground. It's pretty cool. But most importantly, there are some hilarious descriptions of playlists, weapons, and objects in Forge. Community action sack. Santa's got a brand new bag. Infection. Too spooky. Death spheres. Orbs of mass destruction that kill anything, preventing them from universal domination. Golf club. Do you know what I just saw? A brute. Do you know what brutes can do to a griffball court? And one of the big details was all the different assassinations, which I really enjoyed going through and experimenting with those. Those are the types of details that I really like to see and that I enjoy and commend. There are some people out there that have labeled me as a hater, toxic, and I think part of that is because I spend more time critiquing than praising. I think I'm naturally better at offering constructive criticism than praise. But hey, I think this video turned out pretty good. It's all about doing what works with your talents, right? So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to ActMan for more awesome content. And as always, post your comments down below. Tell me what things you liked about Halo 5. Even if there wasn't a lot, try to find something that you enjoyed. Whether it be some small detail or something bigger. And I will say, try to avoid hating on people in the comment section, unless it's me, about what they did like about the game. That'll serve for a much better discussion. Also, are there any tweaks or changes that could have been made to make you like some things more? Whatever your thoughts are, post them down below. Alright everyone, that's all I got for today. This is the Act Man signing out. Peace!